Took away the water before the influx of drugs and money to curb. Took away the laws before the rise of fake niggas and dogs.
Abadiyah ala city. That's Swahili for good afternoon. Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon. Uhuru. First, let me thank everyone for coming. Most importantly, let me thank everyone who made this event possible. We would not have been able to take a single breath in this process without our elders. We would have stumbled on our first step without our elders. So Mr. Wallace, thank you so much, sir, for your guidance, for your emotions, for your support. Mr. Walker, I know Mr. Walker on the other side, but Mr. Walker owns this facility, and his doors have always been open to us. Every day, every time. He has never told us no. And I just want to say thank you. Most importantly, I want to thank the sisters. Because we know, as black people, we cannot heal our community, we cannot heal our nation without healing our women, without protecting our women, without making our women our highest and first and foremost priority. Because we all come from that sacred womb of creation. And so we all have to pay homage to the women in our lives. My mother, my beautiful sisters, my queen, and the sisters who made this event possible. Sister Renee, your leadership, your determination, your spirit, have been on par with the great warrior queens of our motherland continent who fought the oppressors, enslaved owners, and masters who came to take our people from that continent. Our fiercest warriors were our queens. We must always pay homage to them. Sister Natasha, your spirit, your kindness, your graciousness has been a complete inspiration to me. And none of this would have been made possible without you. The United Nations of Consciousness was organized not in your typical way of fashion of an organization. We don't like to consider ourselves a membership group. You don't have to be a member to be a part of us. But what you do have to be is a contributor. We abide by the contributors concept. People who are willing to provide tangible feet on the pavement of contributions, because that is the only way that we can sustain this movement. People tangibly contributing. Like Malcolm said, it is our intention to work with anybody or against anybody to try to get some immediate solutions to the problems that are confronting our people. Our aim is to erase all the lines of divisions within the so-called black community, knowing that if we want to go fast, we go alone. But the only way to go far is to go together. You've all heard that proverb before. So what we are here today for is to announce a call to activation, a call to unification in our consciousness. San Bernardino is in a state of emergency. The sirens of help are blaring, and we are here today adhering to that call. You're here because you love your city. You love your people. And this love should lead us to unify. And the first step in the process of unification is understanding that we as a community share the same common problems. We share the same common ancestry, because at the core we are African, and at the core we are hurting, and at the core we are bleeding, and at the core we are gasping for air. The second step is that we must commit to the process of erasing all lines of division in our community. Once we do that, then we can focus on the process of healing. But we have to erase light and dark skin lines, religious lines, philosophical lines, ideological lines, organizational lines, old and young lines, economic lines. I got more than you do, so you ain't on my level. We gotta erase that. Educational lines. I got more degrees than you, so you ain't on my level. We gotta erase that. Gang lines. All the lines that make our people weak and hateful toward one another, and that allow us to have no respect amongst other communities. Lines that allow us to continually be oppressed, lines that keep us in a perpetual state of regressing. I don't know if you guys have looked at the stats of all so-called African Americans in this country. We are not getting better as a people, y'all. We are not getting, we are regressing, and it's because of those lines of divisions. It's time to take ownership of our community, to take ownership of our individual actions and group actions, to take ownership of our resources. Because despite what they say, we still do have resources here in the Inland Empire. Do not believe that lie. Do not believe that myth. But we have to take ownership of those resources. It is time for each individual and each organization to assume their thrones at the table of what we call the BIE, the Black Inland Empire. To unite as one nation, to create for ourselves and be a model for our communities around the world. We have to do it. We can't wait for the government to do it. We can't wait for some of our politicians to do it. We can't wait for our neighbor to do it. We have to be the example that we want to see. And if we do not do this, we will watch our community continue to suffer a slow death. Because as Sister Linda Hart said, there is a plan to kill each and every one of us. There is a plan to kill the children of each and every one of you. There is a plan to kill the grandchildren of each and every one of you. There will be no savior falling from out the sky to rescue us from this hell. But we are all saviors. And we work together to become, we are all saviors. And if we work together, we become that one mighty savior that the Creator ordained us to be. If I slap you, it'll hurt a little bit. But if I put all these digits into a fist, like Malcolm said, that blow will be much mightier. Last year, I know some of you threw water over your heads for a cause. And that was cute and all. But now, I challenge you to throw water over the flames that are burning our community. The flames of self-hate. The flames of poverty. The flames of miseducation. The flames of trauma. Go get checked out. We've all been through trauma. It's in our DNA. Because our ancestors went through trauma. Study it. It lives in your cells. You can pass it on from generation to generation biologically. So every black person in this country has been through some trauma. Take advantage of the services. And violence. The trauma of violence. Dr. King once said he feared he was integrating us into a burning house. Where our house is burning, and his spirit is calling us to put out the fire. We have kids who have gone away to school, even adults, or they have gone away for other reasons, but they're afraid to come home. They're afraid to come back to the Inland Empire. They're afraid to come back to San Bernardino. They say San Bernardino is too poor. They say it's too ghetto. They say it's too violent. They say it's too boring. So they take their talents elsewhere instead of bringing them home. And we must understand that the most valuable resource that we have is our people. You are the most valuable resource. Our youth from San Bernardino, Cal State San Bernardino over here, are our biggest resource. We need those brothers and sisters to go get educated and come back home and start to build, but they're scared to. Well, that means us who are here, we must give them something to come back home to. Give them a plan to come back home to. Even if we have nothing tangible for them, we can set up plans. We can set up organizations. We can set up anything to get our best resources back home. We must learn to forget our differences, realizing we live in a multi-level system of oppression, and that we have problems on every single level in our community. So we need a multi-level system of rebellion and responses to those problems. That's why we must unite. Because there is no one way to solve our problems. There's no singular response. There's no singular religion. There's no singular philosophy. There's no one ideology to combat oppression by the dominant society or even our self-inflicted problems. We need different people, different organizations doing different things to attack these problems on all fronts. And we have people in the Inland Empire who are already working to do that, but they need more help from the community. So if you're tired of being hurt, if you're tired of that pain, get out and join a cause of like-minded people. Get out and join an organization of like-minded people, because it doesn't matter who you're with as long as you're fighting for the progression of our people and our community. We need all hands on deck. We need every single group. We need cores, young visionaries, the African American Mental Health Coalition, the Inland Empire Association of Black Educators, the Moorish Science Temple of the Inland Empire, the Nation of Islam. We need the churches, even though some of these churches beef like rival gangs out here. We need them to cut that out. We need the new Black Panthers. We need alliances with our brothers and sisters in the brown community. I see generation here now. Wake up. We need the Sankofa Center, the Nubians over there on the west side where I'm from, the Rastas, the entertainment artists. We need everybody to show up united and make our politicians accountable for their action. But we cannot do that unless we are this fist. We need every person, every group possible fighting for the progression, unity, and liberation of all people of African descent in the Inland Empire and all across the diaspora. And if you're not willing to do that, then get out of the way, or we will move you out the way. Division is the enemy. Division is the real oppressor. The number one weapon of the oppressor is to divide and conquer. It is time to fire up our youth, recharge our elders. It's time to pick up the fight that our brave elders have fought for so long. And we must pay homage to them. Our elders have been fighting for this since the inception of this nation. It is time to pick up Martin's grace, Malcolm's fearlessness, an example of manhood. It is time to pick up Garvey's movement, Asada's fight for freedom, Maya Angelou's fight for our humanity. Our struggle is not a curse, but a precursor to the riches and glory of heaven on earth and in the cosmos. And as today is my birthday, I am hereby reborn in the spirit of my ancestors and charged